So I purchased this World War II M1 Carbine 30 caliber in about 94 or 1995, give or take a year. And I did a little bit of research when I first got it. I was curious as to whether or not it was authentic. And it appeared to be I didn't know much at all about it at that point, but just by looking at it, it appeared to be, had a lot of markings on it that to me looked like, okay, yeah, that looks significant. Anyway, I went back here just in the last week or so, and I've done a lot more research on this gun, because if you're going to do a gun post and talk any detail at all about a firearm, you better kind of make sure you got accurate information. So for the most part, what I'm doing is I'm just regurgitating what I've read. I'm not claiming to know this stuff, because obviously I was not there. I've never been in the military. I've never been a combat soldier. So my knowledge of this gun is purely from just personal use over the last few years, shooting it a number of times, and then carrying it around in the woods, and then mostly from a detail standpoint, just what I've read. So really complicated. There's a tremendous amount of detail. If you own one of these firearms, or if you're thinking about acquiring one, there's a whole lot of detail information that you need to study if your objective is to look for one and try to buy one that's original. And from what I gather, that's somewhat of an exception to get one of these that is in 100% original condition. If you've got one, you've really got something. And especially if it's one that you acquired from, say, maybe your father or your grandfather, or maybe great-grandfather who was in World War II, and man, you've really got something. And so anyway, I'm not going to go through all the detail about what makes me think that I've got a gun that is mostly original, but I will just say that the markings over the course of the gun that I have researched and studied and compared to this gun tells me that almost for sure the barrel, and probably the whole upper assembly, if that's the correct way to describe that, the bolt and the slide and the receiver, I believe this all to be original based on the markings on the gun and based on the research that I did. And I haven't taken the gun apart. There's 51 individual parts on this M1 carbine. And if I do decide to take it apart to determine how close to original it is, the reading and the research I did tells me that every individual part on this gun is stamped, and that's how you can tell that, and also the finish and a few other things. And that's another thing that tells me that I believe a majority of certainly the working parts on this gun are original, because of the consistency in wear, the consistency in the finish. I'd be tickled to death to know that every part on this gun was either 100% original or was added on to this gun, was replaced or what have you during that refurbishment program. To me, that's not the same as if you have a gun that was 100% intact, came off the assembly line, was issued to a combat troop, saw battle, came back in, and then was just, put in holding or put in storage, and then at some point in time sold as surplus or whatever it might be to some fortunate, some lucky individual firearm owner. Anyway, that's my alarm going off there. The doggone battery needs to be replaced. Anyway, M1 carbine, awesome history. If you're a firearms aficionado, but you don't know much about this gun, I really think you would enjoy doing some research on your own. There's a number of books that have been written about it. No doubt there's probably a lot of YouTube posts by people that know much more about this gun than I do. And so it would probably be worth your time. I think you would enjoy spending some time learning more about this amazing firearm that was widely used in World War II. M1 carbine. It's a dandy. Without further ado, let's go down the range down there, and the rock range, we'll call it, out here at Squirrel Ranch, and throw a few rounds down range there. So I hadn't shot my old carbine in quite a while, and I thought I'll just start out with that 5-round magazine, get warmed up. You can see my rear sight's missing there. Anyway, immediately right out of the chute there, I had problems with it, and so I just kind of kept working. I thought, well, maybe you know, it's not completely unusual for a semi-automatic occasionally to jam, but just kept having problems with it. So I went up to the barn, got some rim oil, and sprayed it down a little bit and wiped the excess off. That helped a little bit. I was able to at least fire a couple of rounds before it jammed, and then it jammed up again. So no big deal, but I kind of wanted to figure it out. I was really hoping it wasn't the gun. I was hoping there wasn't an issue with the bolt or the receiver, the extractor, what have you. So I took what I remember from Mr. Pearson's geometry class and the little bit I recall from 8th grade, or was it 9th grade algebra, did a little ciphering and figured out that that darn 5-round magazine is just an issue with it. I think the spring is too powerful, and so whenever it ejects, when that bolt comes back and it ejects that spent casing, I think that spring is kicking that next round out of the magazine there before it has a chance to pick it up and put it in the receiver. At least that's what I think is happening. That's interesting. It's kicking out, I guess it's cycling, so it's throwing out the casing and then it's throwing out another shell. So that's why it's always good to test your equipment, check it out whenever you're not using it for something that's real important. So anyway, I'm gonna set that 5-rounder aside, and we'll try the 10. I was initially having some trouble getting that magazine to catch, and that's why whenever I pulled that bolt back, it wasn't pulling a shell out, a round out, and putting it in the tube there. So anyway, I'm so used to shooting that Mini 14, and it's just a different way that magazine clips in there. Man, that sure was fun. A couple things you're probably wondering about. Well, first off, when I first started, as I'm prone to do, I didn't have shooting glasses on, so I went up and got a pair of those. It was actually throwing powder back in my face a little bit. And anyway, so I went and put these glasses on. I mentioned it before, that's something I ought to just do every single time, not even think about it. And then the other thing you might be wondering about, what the heck's with this silly hard hat? Well, I thought I didn't want to wear the big ear protectors because just kind of to honor the World War II vets. There's not very many of them even alive anymore, but just kind of as a little honor to them. Those guys didn't have ear protection. Can you imagine that? Being in combat, not having ear protection. So it's amazing any of those guys could even hear later in life, and I'm sure a lot of them probably couldn't very well at all. Anyway, so I just had those foam ear plugs in there, and they worked okay. Anyway, and then this isn't a helmet. It's not the same thing as a combat helmet, World War II, but it's kind of similar, so I thought I'll wear that. Again, just kind of as my little honor to those amazing guys. But man, that thing really shot well. One thing that's surprising, if one of those clips wasn't going to function well, I would have thought it would have been the 30-rounder, and it turns out it functioned. It jammed slightly one time, And I tell you what, also, you know, man, everything's a learning experience. No matter how much you might know about firearms, you know, you can always learn a few little things. But that 5-rounder, I gave up on it. It was not functioning at all. In fact, I'll probably just get rid of it. The 10 did okay. Did I shoot the 10? Heck, I don't even remember now. Anyway, I guess I did. But that 30, man, it did perform flawlessly, and that's a lot of rounds. 30 rounds, man, that's a lot of shooting. But the other thing I learned was I sprayed a little, well, I went up to the barn. I mentioned I got that rim oil and sprayed it down really good, wiped off the excess. And then I even sprayed a little bit of that down in that magazine. And that actually made a difference. But boy, the gun, it just cycles really well. That's probably the most rounds I'll ever shoot through this gun again at one time. Man, that barrel is hot. I just don't want to, it's too cool of a firearm to take any chance of messing it up. And I'll shoot it sparingly from now on, but I wanted to do that today and post it on, and then post it on Squirrel Ranch. And so pretty exciting, pretty fun. Man, it's something. And I tell you what, that 30 carbine, I know I said earlier, and it's true, it's equivalent to a 357, but man, that's throwing some lead down there. I mean, really fast, hard hitting. You can see the dust and the rocks flying up and stuff. That was impressive. I just, again, can't imagine being in a situation where you're shooting at somebody, you're shooting at the bad guys, they're shooting back at you, and they've got stuff like this and similar to this with this kind of capacity. That just blows my mind, and just makes you have that much more appreciation for those for combat soldiers. Man, that's hot. That barrel's hot. Man, oh man, that is just too much fun. And it just, you throw it up there and you're looking down, all I got to look at's that front sight. Boom, and fairly rapid fire. I wasn't like boom, 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 but fairly rapid fire. And I hit that darn target every time. Now that's only 20, 22 yards or so, no big deal. But again, open sights, no rear sight. The fact that just throws up there, right? Boom, you just throw it up and it's right there. I mean, you're just looking right down. Boom. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it's just really a fun gun to shoot. I'm not gonna, over the course of the rest of my life, I'm not gonna run a boatload of rounds through this. But every now and then I intend to get it out, just like I did a couple of weeks ago, just like I did today, run a few rounds through it and then clean it up. And then more than anything, I'll probably just get it out from time to time and admire it for what it is. Just a great classic firearm with a tremendous military history that now in peacetime is just fun to own and to shoot now and then. So I hope you enjoyed this video. The M1 carbine 30 caliber really is just a really fun firearm to own and to shoot. Really is a blast.